Guys, it's time to talk about Michelle Stone over there at 132 Problems, Revisiting Mormon Polygamy.
Who is she?
Michelle's YouTube channel is a deep dive into the murky waters of Mormon polygamy. She studies the scriptural, theological, and historical case for or against polygamy and looks at the historical and modern implications of the practice. Basically, Michelle is a polygamy denier. She denies that Joseph Smith practiced polygamy and that all of the people who claim that he did are either liars or are misrepresenting his actions.
In so many ways, the Book of Mormon is an extremely powerful second witness to God's establishment and commandment of marriage between one man and one woman. And it serves to build on the Bible to clarify just how abominable polygamy truly is in the sight of God. In addition to the undeniable teachings in the Book of Mormon, we can add all of the teachings and revelations that came through Joseph Smith recorded in the Doctrine and Covenants, which are all universally, strictly monogamous. None of Joseph Smith's revelations make any room for polygamy. One of many examples, Doctrine and Covenants 42:22, thou shalt love thy wife with all thy heart, and shalt cleave unto her and none else.
I used to be a subscriber over there at 132 Problems, Revisiting Mormon Polygamy, and I generally enjoyed Michelle's thoughtful research and her charisma. But after I watched a couple of episodes of hers in particular, I unsubscribed. The first episode that gave me pause was when Michelle had Brian Hales on her channel. Brian is an active Latter-day Saint, and he's written a couple of books on Mormon polygamy. The most detailed is Modern Polygamy and Mormon Fundamentalism, and a shorter version of that book is Setting the Record Straight, Mormon Fundamentalism. Brian basically argues what every reputable historian has found when researching this issue, namely that Joseph Smith had between 33 and 40 wives, and that he had intimate relationships with quite a few of them. When Michelle hosted him on her podcast, he handed her her lunch and showed that she's an amateur way over her depth.
Now, when we get to the topic of plural marriage, I would argue that this is the official position of the church. It was restored by Joseph Smith. It was practiced by Joseph Smith. These are the verses. And there's a little ambiguity in the wording. I admit that, but when you put it in context, I don't think there's any other interpretation. So we have these verses from D&C 132, and if you will read them, they are very clear. And 132 was accepted in 1876 as canonized scripture. The teaching that Joseph Smith introduced polygamy, he was a polygamist, and that polygamy, when it is permitted, you can't freelance plural marriage, is something that is ordained of God. It's also found in the Gospel Topic essay. It's found in the official church history, which of course we're familiar with. It is the conclusion of the Joseph Smith Papers Project historians, 100%. It's also my conclusion when I came out with my 3 volumes in 2013. Now,
The evidence is overwhelming.
But it's not just faithful Mormons who disagree with Michelle. She had John Hamer onto her channel as well, who's one of my favorite all-time Mormon historians and cartographers. I had John Hamer on the Mormon News Roundup a couple of times, and he's just my absolute favorite person in every way. John Hamer is a former member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and now he runs the very popular YouTube channel Centerpoint. John Hamer gently and repeatedly told Michelle that she has no clue what she's talking about when it comes to Joseph Smith practicing polygamy. He argues that he did, and that the overwhelming consensus of historians is that Joseph Smith was a polygamist.
People just instead call me a polygamy denier and tell me I'm a flat earther and a Holocaust denier. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but can we just talk about the evidence?
Joseph Smith, yes, is a polygamist. If Joseph Smith's polygamy was limited to the kind of thing that he was doing with Fanny Alger, then I would just conclude it was an affair. Once we already understand that Joseph is a polygamist, then what I want to do is to explain to people for whom Joseph Smith is important, how did he get to this place? Even though I ultimately then will conclude that this is an abuse of authority, and we unfortunately have to have as much or little pity for him as we want to, depending on where we are and how we are feeling about what happens. If it was only those things, we would be able to dismiss it ultimately. What happens is it becomes so widespread in Nauvoo that the evidence is overwhelming.
The evidence is overwhelming.
My absolute favorite episode was probably when Radio Free Mormon released No Ma'am, That's Not History back in episode 286. He absolutely demolished the idea that Joseph Smith was not a polygamist.
I am not doing this podcast with any hope in my mind that I will ever convince Ms. Stone that she is wrong. There is no evidence in the world that would convince her. she is wrong. There is no argumentation or logic in the world that would convince her she is wrong. That is because she is a conspiracy theorist, and no evidence will convince them that they are wrong. Evidence that shows they're wrong, like the Melissa Lott family Bible, will only be used by them to twist it around and show that actually they're right.
I mean, even Word Radio mocks Michelle Stone. If you're losing the battle to Word Radio, you've lost the war. And it was after all of these episodes that I really stopped taking Michelle seriously. Now, with regards to Mormon polygamy, I have just finished a 1-hour conclusive video which traces the origin of Mormon polygamy all the way back from biblical times, all the way through the Second Manifesto and beyond. I did this 1-hour video in collaboration with the legend of Mormon research, Sandra Tanner, and I really think it's one of my best works. I'm going to be releasing it soon. But none of this is the reason that I wanted to release this episode. Shooting down Michelle Stone's pathetic attempts to defend her beloved prophet is easier than shooting fish in a barrel. What I actually want to talk about is Michelle Stone's peculiar level of subscribers on her 132 Problems channel. But before we go any further, I'm D-Days, the host of the Mormon News Roundup, and yes, that's talent on loan from Kolob. Now, in the course of my releasing over 1,000 videos on YouTube, I've had many co-hosts onto my program, most of which have YouTube channels. I'd like to think that I know a thing or two about Mormon podcasting on YouTube. Very few LDS themed channels have the level of subscribers that Miss Stone has. So let's examine it just a little more carefully.
Let's check it out.
As of the release of this video, she has about 200 videos and about 120,000 subscribers. That is some accomplishment. Or is it? When we sort Ms. Stone's channel by the most popular videos, her most popular videos have about 70,000 views, 50,000 views, 40,000 views, and 25,000 views. That's an extraordinarily small number of views considering the number of subscribers that she boasts. Let's compare that with a couple of other channels of similar size, and we're going to see a significant discrepancy here, which causes some concern. Just keep in mind as we do this that her most popular video has 70,000 views. Let's compare Ms. Stone's channel with Christy Burke. Christy is an ex-Christian and an agnostic atheist. She has about 70,000 subscribers, far less than Miss Stone. But when we sort Christie's most watched videos, we see one of her videos has almost 1 million views. Her second most viewed video, third and fourth, have about 200,000 views. That's exactly what we would expect from a channel with 70,000 subscribers. But that's in significant contrast to, remember, the most viewed videos on Ms. Stone's channel. Let's compare 132 Problems with another polygamous channel. That's Growing Up in Polygamy with Sam and Melissa. Growing Up in Polygamy's mission is to create compassion for religious communities that are misunderstood, marginalized, and or abused by their leaders, as well as empower those who have left, like Sam, by giving them a platform to share their stories with the world. I really enjoy Sam's fresh perspectives about growing up in the FLDS and how he's found empowerment by leaving. Growing Up in Polygamy has about 75,000 subscribers, again, which is about 50% less than Ms. Stone's channel. Let's see what happens when we sort the channel by most viewed videos. We see videos with almost 300,000 views, 200,000 views, or 150,000 views. Again, this is many more views than Ms. Stone's channel. And let's check out one more channel, Saints Unscripted. Saints Unscripted strives to faithfully discuss Latter-day Saints' current events, doctrine, and culture to help you feel accepted and motivated in your faith journey. Saints Unscripted has about 85,000 subscribers currently. Their most watched videos include a 400,000 viewed video, 200,000 viewed video, 135,000 viewed video, and a 130,000 viewed video. These other three channels that I've looked at are completely normal. It's exactly what you would expect. Ms. Stone's channel is the only anomaly, and it's an anomaly by a mile. So when we compare all of these Mormon-related YouTube channels to Ms. Stone's, what we see is a significant disconnect between what Ms. Stone's number of subscribers and her total views.
Something's not adding up here.
One of the best websites out there for analyzing a YouTube channel is Social Blade. Social Blade is a website that tracks social media analytics and statistics for many platforms, including YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, etc. It's a third-party API that provides users with aggregated data from social media platforms. Let's see what happens when we take a look at 132 Problems revisiting Mormon polygamy. Notice that Ms. Stone only has 1 million video views total. If we compare that with the Mormon News Roundup, I have more total views than she does, yet I only have 3,000 subscribers. Something is wrong here.
That doesn't make sense.
The views and the subscriptions simply don't match. When we pull up the YouTube analytical history for 132 Problems and we look at the monthly gained video views, what we see is an insane spike in April of 2024 for about 3 months. Prior to April of 2024, we see that 132 Problems was growing at a very normal rate, kind of slow. That's exactly what you would expect. In April of 2024, the channel grew 7,000 subscribers. In May of 2024, it grew 45,000 subscribers. In June of 2024, it grew 40,000 subscribers. And then, puzzlingly, in July, it fell back down to its normal average of around 2,000 subscribers a month. That is an anomaly that needs explanation.
How do you explain that?
Normally, if a video platform goes viral, it will continue at an exponential growth rate, not just all of a sudden slam back down to what it was doing before. So if we take a look at Michelle's most recent month's views, the last 30 days, we see that she only got 32,000 views, yet she claims 110,000 subscribers. That means that only a third of her subscribers have even watched one video during that time.
That's not normal.
So here's the total video views for 132 Problems revisiting Mormon polygamy. We can see that in September of 2023 that it's growing at a very linear rate. Then all of a sudden for 3 months it jumps up huge, and then again it goes back to its normal rate. And finally, her estimated earnings are not in line with a channel of her size. They are in line with a channel that has 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. When you also look at her analytics, you get some really puzzling things like video views that are in the negatives. I don't really know what it means, but it's another anomalous part of her entire channel. If we look at the Mormon News Roundup's views, we never see negative total views. And let's take a look at one last metric, her live streams. Michelle did one live stream after her incredible surge to 120,000 subscribers. When you replay her live call-in show number 2, which is episode 125, what you see in the live chat is just a couple dozen people, not the 1,000 to 2,000 people that you would expect from a channel of this size. When we examine every single analytic, revisiting Mormon polygamy 132 Problems is an enigma. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. When you compare it to like channels in the religious sphere, it is doing way better than anyone else as far as subscribers, and yet the views are indicative of a channel of a tiny size. And this is a really important point as well. When you're a polygamy denier, the amount of people who actually care about that kind of a channel is exceptionally small. Most people out there don't care about polygamy in general. Number two, they don't care if Joseph Smith practiced polygamy, and they certainly don't enjoy looking at the historical documentation about his practices. This is a niche of a niche of a niche audience, and yet it has a huge platform, one of the biggest in the Mormon sphere. It's really the third largest Mormon-related channel in this particular genre behind Mormon stories and cults to consciousness, and yet nothing adds up. This is that part of the video where I need you to help me fill in the blanks here. What do you think is going on with Michelle Stone's channel?
What the hell is going on?
I want to be very clear here that I'm not accusing her of purchasing subscribers, but it certainly appears like someone has been monkeying around and has probably purchased subscribers for 132 Problems. Whether it's Michelle Stone, I don't know. Anyone can inflate a channel's YouTube subscribers through a number of different means by buying fake bots and fake subscribers. There seems to be a huge number of phantom subscribers to 132 Problems.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
It's time to start wrapping things up. Michelle Stone is the ultimate sweet spirit out there.
She has beauty emanating deeply from within. Ooh, sweet spirit, you're so nice. You may not appear it, but your soul's a pearl of great price. You're such a good person, sincere and true. You just keep rehearsing, and one day you might say, I do. That will be so nice for you.
That shit was hot. That shit was hot.
But I have major problems with her and her channel. Her denials of Joseph Smith practicing polygamy have been thoroughly debunked by Brian Hales, John Hamer, Radio Free Mormon, and I've even got an episode out there with Sandra Tanner. We've demolished her arguments. It's not enough for her to have bad ideas and bad arguments, but now we have a potentially fraudulent channel. Yes, I'm going to use the word fraud here. Something is rotten in Denmark when it comes to 132 problems revisiting Mormon polygamy. I don't know if Michelle bought subscribers or if one of her minions did it, but for those of us who have grown a channel organically through YouTube over the course of years, I can tell you that what she's done isn't honest.
She's a liar.
I need to know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for watching another episode of the Mormon News Roundup. And remember, no unhallowed hand can stop this podcast from progressing.
Shove it up your ass, Bishop!